You're listening to the Fitzy and Wippa podcast.
Well, after 10 days of mourning yesterday, Queen Elizabeth II was laid to rest.
The first sovereign's funeral at Westminster Abbey in 262 years.
In the arms of Royal Navy sailors, London falls silent for Her Majesty's final goodbye.
Service in life, hope in death. All who follow the Queen's example can with her say, we will meet again.
Well, I thought it was extraordinary. I thought the whole proceeding last night and the lead up, but the actual running, the tribute, and also the pageantry and the professionalism of the members of service that carried out the proceedings was just extraordinary.
Royal Butler served the royal family. Grant Harrold joins us now. Grant, thank you very much for your time again, mate.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back on.
Grant, thank you, buddy. And we know we looked down at the TV numbers, knowing that half the world's population tuned in to send off and celebrate the Queen last night. Our time was night time. What was amazing was learning about the rehearsal and the work, and the fact that the Queen had spent time also planning the proceedings.
Yeah, absolutely. She was involved in every, as weird as it might sound, we talk about how most people have to plan wills. She planned everything you saw. Literally, she was aware of the whole, everything we saw today, she was involved in. And not only what we saw today, even the other parts, Operation Unicorn, which took place in Scotland, she was involved in all the planning. So basically, she was involved in it.
Grant, what is buried with her? I'm not quite sure what goes down with her, but do you know?
No, I mean there was something that was placed on. See, it's interesting because with previous royal funerals, we've seen more, I think, in this one than what we've ever seen before. Now, the staff that was broken, I know that's the Lord Chamberlain's staff, or it's a symbolic thing, basically. And the Lord Chamberlain is the most senior position within her household. And basically breaking that is to show that it's the end of the connection with her Lord Chamberlain. The Lord Chamberlain is no longer her it's a historic thing.
Yes.
That's what's broken. The piece of cloth, generally don't know what that is, but obviously that was something very symbolic. But I was amazed at how much we saw, because it is quite a private affair, and also we even saw a little bit of her being lowered into the vault, and then of course this evening she was lowered into a certain section where Prince Philip was, the late Prince Philip, and then this evening they were then moving them to will you actually remember that, guys? Because we actually do you remember we had a visit there about 4 years ago at the wedding we went. Do you remember when we had a look? Well, that's the crypt that they'll be moved to, so they'll actually be in the same spot as her late father and mother and sister.
It's actually quite creepy when you walk past that crypt. It is, because you know what, you see all the...
They're right there.
The history, and they're right there, and
Queen
you can
Mother.
walk past, Grant.
Yeah, they're all... there's so many royals there. I read somewhere that it can hold... It's some scary amount. It's 78 of them, and at the moment it's something like 50 or 55. And that's a lot of royals, a lot of history. And as you said, it is strange, because somebody said to me, but do they not get buried? And it's not exactly, it doesn't work like that. The aristocracy in this country, a lot of these kind of big, beautiful homes and things, they have these mausoleums, and they basically get kept in these mausoleums. It's kind of how it's done. And they're all family. That's what happens at Windsor.
Grant, do you know much about the crown that sat on, I'm sure it's not called a pillow, but the crown that sat on the pillow on top of the
cushion.
Yeah, on top of the coffin during the proceedings. Is that the crown that has stuck with the royal family for what has been over 1,000-year reign? I mean, how old? What do you know about that crown?
So that crown is quite old. It has been modified over the years. The crown that I think you're maybe thinking of is the coronation crown, which is St Edward's crown. Now, that one is only ever used at the coronation. It's the only time that the Queen ever wore that. Most people don't even know about it, and that is the crown. That when you talk about the crowning, and that's what King Charles will be crowned with, that is the crown.
Right.
The one that you saw today is the Imperial State Crown. Now, that one is used for all ceremonial purposes, so quite often we saw the Queen wearing that. So symbolically, it's quite important because it's what we're so used to wearing, and that is the crown that she wears. The actual crown only ever gets used once. That one we've seen a lot, and I found it really. If I can say, guys, I found it really emotional when they took it off her coffin.
Absolutely,
because what they do is, it sounds extraordinary, but they almost strip her of her
title.
Yeah, it's like that was it.
Because it's basically because their belief is that when they're buried, they go back to being a human being with no privileges, no titles, nothing.
Right.
So it's very symbolic. So basically, that was taken away. She will always be, the late Queen Elizabeth II, but they've taken away the crown so that she's like everyone else.
Yeah.
She's been buried in that way, and now, of course, the crown will next be used by King Charles III.
So, which is kind of beautiful, because then obviously if they did the private family service, that would have been more reflecting her, the person, not her, the royal.
Yeah.
Do we know? I know it's probably a bit soon, but after a funeral like this, when that coronation happens, is that sort of all predetermined?
It's going to have to be quite soon. I'll tell you why. There's rumours over here. I'm sure you guys have heard it. There's rumours over here that it's going to be a summer coronation, and I think it has to be summer because the opening of Parliament, which the late Queen used to do, is something that the King would do. Now, I think they'll want to have had him possibly crowned by that point, possibly. So I'm kind of guessing it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be long. I mean, I'm even kind of visualising probably June time, and then as soon as that's done, we're then going to have the investiture of the Prince and Princess of Wales. So there's quite a lot still to come.
Grant, you know what I found fascinating last night? Not fascinating, but it was a great reflection. We feel as much as we're in touch, we're slightly removed in that we're not over there, and we're of British founding, but we're not British here in Australia. But there was the minute's silence that they had last night, and that was the moment where they crossed to the crowd. And just to see the supporters and the people of England that had come out onto the streets, linking arms with their eyes closed, the impact it's had on the public will last for a very long time.
It will, and can I mention, I've actually bumped in today to quite a few Australians who have been so upset. I mean, it's extraordinary, just seeing not just Australians, people from all over the Commonwealth, all walks of life, even who are not even part of the Commonwealth, and just seeing, I mean, I've got to make a quick confession. I was working with media this morning, and I actually needed to get away. I wanted to, this is a bit strange, I wanted to kind of have my own goodbye, and I tried to plan it so that I could see the procession, because I didn't want to watch it. I don't want to remember ever watching the screens. So I went off, and you won't believe this, guys, I got lost. And amazingly, I ended up at the palace. I have no idea how it's even possible because there were so many roads closed. Mm-hmm. And the police officer said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Look, I'm just trying to get one glimpse of the Queen's coffin as it was passed, because all these millions of people here, and I just want to have one." And I explained my background, and they very kindly said, "Well, if you stand there, there was nobody else there, you can see it." And I became a bit of a wreck because I was the only one standing there, and the procession went right past.
Wow!
And I couldn't believe it, guys. I mean, it was just like,
wow.
It completely flattened me.
Yeah, it's funny how things play out.
But the point is, after that, I then started seeing people in the crowds from all walks of life, and so many people were just crying. A police officer's crying, military crying. It was extraordinary.
Well, Grant, we appreciate all the time that you've given us over the years. Like, it's just been amazing to get to know you from the first wedding with Prince William and Kate over there, and have this friendship. We know how busy you are, but appreciate your time, Grant. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you guys in London for a joyous occasion, hopefully before too long.
Absolutely, Grant. Thanks again, mate.
Take care.
See you, buddy. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Wippa podcast.